Good morning. The last time I stood here on Christmas Eve with you all, we remembered that Jesus has called us the light of the world. And the light is needed in what? Darkness. And the scriptures told us in John 1 that the light is shining in the darkness. Not just that it has shined in the past, but that it is shining in the darkness. And the darkness has not overcome it. We all have experiences with darkness. And there are times, perhaps for many of us, the past week, where it might feel that darkness is more present, more toxic, more unnerving. Before I read the Bible passage we're going to focus on today, I want to emphasize a contextual symmetry of how humans can understand one another to some degree across time. We're about to see the story of the first followers of Jesus, the first four who begin to follow him and become his disciples. And they lived, these first four, with an urgency for political wins. They lived in a world every bit as politically charged, as violent, as polarized. They were a people that had been conquered before, Babylon, Persia, Greece, but every time God eventually delivered them. This is what the prophets had promised. And now in their generation, Rome has occupied their land for generations. Roman soldiers patrol their streets. Roman taxes fund the empire that's oppressing their ways of life. Roman crucifixes lined roads as reminders of what happens when you resist. But in their Bibles and churches, they had learned how to dream and how to hope, because God was going to raise up an anointed leader, a ruler, the one. This person would restore Jewish political rule. This person was promised to defeat Israel's enemies, to establish the way for peace and prosperity. If you've heard the title Messiah or Christ, those are what they called this future promised person. Let's read together from John. This is chapter 1 of John, continuing on from where we left in Advent. I'm going to be reading 35 through 46, but I'll jump a few verses. I'll let you know when I do it. So listen now for the word of the Lord, starting in verse 35 of John 1. The next day, John was there again with two of his disciples. When he saw Jesus passing by, he said, "Look, the Lamb of God." When the two disciples heard him say this, they followed Jesus. Verse 40. Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, was one of the two who heard what John had said and who had followed Jesus. The first thing Andrew did was to find his brother Simon and tell him, "We have found the Messiah," that is, the Christ. And he brought him to Jesus. Verse 43. The next day, Jesus decided to leave for Galilee. Finding Philip, he said to him, "Follow me." Philip, like Andrew and Peter, was from the town of Bethsaida. Philip found Nathanael and told him, "We have found the one Moses wrote about in the law, and about whom the prophets also wrote. It's Jesus of Nazareth, the son of Joseph." Nazareth? Can anything good come from there? Nathanael asked. "Come and see," said Philip. The grass withers and the flowers fade, but this word of the Lord endures forever. How wild to be the first ones to find and follow the Messiah. Based on what I've said so far, and perhaps other Bible study that you may have done in your own life, answer this. When those first 4 men we just read about began to follow Jesus, what might have been their thinking on what they had signed up for? To fight, okay. Revolution, okay. They thought that they were going to go take over the world. Peter will literally ask at one point, "Who will sit at your right and left hand when you establish your kingdom?" He's inquiring about cabinet positions. They thought they were joining a political movement, that Jesus was going to march on Jerusalem, overthrow the Romans, establish the kingdom, and put them in positions of power. This is what they thought that they were signing up for. By becoming Christians, they thought this was their destiny. But what actually played out? He never marches on Rome. He never raises up an army. He didn't establish a political kingdom that would overthrow the occupation and put his followers in power. Instead, he did something far more ambitious. Instead, he did something far more profound. Instead, he did something far more necessary. Revelation 5. Then I saw in the right hand of him who sat on the throne a scroll with writing on both sides and is sealed with 7 seals. And I saw a mighty angel proclaiming in a loud voice, "Who is worthy to break the seals and open the scroll?" But no one in heaven or on earth or under the earth could open the scroll or even look inside of it. I wept and wept because no one was found who was worthy to open the scroll or look inside. Why is the opening of this scroll so important? The answer to that question is the same answer to this question. What is our real problem? Is the real problem that Renee Good put herself in a dangerous position? Is the real problem her aggressive form of protest? Is the real problem immigration or ICE policy? Is the real problem certain political platforms or carrying out certain agendas? Is the problem our polarized political climate? Is the problem people that are Democrats? Is the problem people who are Republicans? Is the problem the leaders of our country? Is the problem a previous administration? Is the problem the current administration? Or is it specific people that are the problem? Well-known voices, be that a Biden, a Harris, a Newsom, or a Vance, Noem, Trump. All of us here have our own views on who to blame in that list. But the church, but being Christian, But being a Jesus follower means knowing the problem is deeper still. When any human decides to stand, we do so upon ground that is hostile to human flourishing. The Bible affirms our instincts when we see the problems around us and point to them as either evil or sinful or wrong. In the beginning of our scriptures, we hear the story of how evil itself, in the form of a serpent, begins to manipulate the human heart and mind to do that which is wrong, to sin. It's common for all humanity now that whenever we stand to do anything, it's always going to be upon ground in which we are being manipulated into conditions that will be hostile to human flourishing. And the one dream, the one hope for solving that problem is the one who is worthy to open the scroll, because that scroll is the marker of the end to evil, and therefore the end to sin, and therefore the end to everything that you see which is wrong in the world right now. So Jesus does not take over Rome, because the problem is beyond and below politics. It's deeper. It's deeper than human leaders. It's deeper than earthly power. Jesus was and Jesus is addressing our one true common enemy, evil, and how it drives our sin. This is why Jesus transcended the politics around him, not because he didn't care, but because he knew and came to address the problem behind and below all of it. It's not that Jesus avoided politics. In fact, he didn't retreat to some private spiritual enclave during his life. He was engaged with the world around him constantly. But he did so as someone who stood on very different ground. As someone who had different views, as someone who didn't play by the same rules, as someone who wasn't motivated by the same ambitions and the same fears. And so those original disciples, and so those disciples that follow him even today, many of us, are looking for that Messiah who would defeat Rome, that Messiah who would establish an earthly throne, that Messiah who would give political power. And why do we look for that? Why do we look for that? You know, some of us, if we're honest, believe that if just the right president, the right Supreme Court, the right legislation were in place, then we would be safe. It would save us. Things would be set right. It would finally bring the justice, the peace, the holiness, the righteousness, whatever, that we're longing for. And we're not ever in the church going to say politics doesn't matter, or that laws don't have consequences. Elections are always going to be important. But what we do need to say is that politics makes a terrible Messiah. A political victory, a shift in power, can change laws and change agendas, but it can't change hearts. And so we see over and over again the pendulum swing back and forth ever so often, depending on who's in power. And that person in power, like the rest of us, of humanity, is standing on the same ground that is hostile to human flourishing. Whatever our best intentions are, evil is still present and manipulating and contorting our hearts and minds to do that which is sinful. So if you're waiting for that Republican or that Democrat to finally win so that you can exhale, if you believe that we just get the right people in office, that justice and holiness will roll down like waters, then we're like those first disciples that came to Jesus to follow him, who underappreciated what Jesus was actually coming to do. We see him as a lesser Messiah than who he is for you right now. Jesus is the Messiah, not just for first century Jews, but for every human longing, every ache, every waiting, including our political exhaustion and despair. He's not a way to God. He is the way. He's not a way to flourishing. He is the way. He's not an option among many. He is the fulfillment of every promise God has ever made. And so he doesn't give us political wins. He gives us himself. He doesn't just point to a better system. He is the source of new creation. And this is what Jesus, the Messiah, does for everyone who comes to him, follows him. He sees you, not the version of you that performs, not the political identity that you present on, say, social media, but the actual you. The you who's exhausted by the chaos, the you who's afraid of what's happening, the you who's angered by what's happening, the you who wonders if any of this even matters, the you who's investing so much hope in a world that stands on ground that's actively against our human flourishing. He sees you, he sees this mess, and he is your Messiah. How can this be? How can Jesus be this person? How can Jesus be this answer for you? I personally have so many questions, even doubts about how this works. But I'll tell you what Philip told a skeptical Andrew. Come and see. Experience for yourself. What good can come out of Nazareth? How can this possibly be what I'm looking for? And the answer, come and see. Experience it for yourself. We can begin to learn, to feel what it's like to vote and to work for righteousness and justice without actively shunning other people or harboring hatred for another person or party, because we're learning that we are fighting against a completely different enemy. And in fact, this person that we see on earth as someone that's against us, Christ died for them. You are the light of the world because you know this. You are the light of the world because you know who the true enemy is. God pulled the curtain on this conspiracy from the very beginning in Genesis, that our problem, that our real problem, is the ground that we stand on. Ever working against us because of evil's influence and the human sin it produces. Evil and sin that thought it crushed the Messiah 2,000 years ago by literally killing him, crucifying him. But 3 days later, in the resurrection of Jesus, we know everything has changed, because the kingdom that Jesus was building couldn't be stopped by earthly politics. It cannot be stopped. This is the story, the greatest story that we know, that makes us the light of the world. As the music team starts to come up, I'm going to lead us in a time of prayer. We're going to use the passages of Scripture that we already had with Revelation 5, but I'm going to start in Luke 19. With Jesus coming into Jerusalem, this is days before he will be arrested and crucified. And as he looks upon the city, he begins to cry. His heart falls upon the pain of humanity, and he knows and feels the weight of the pain that evil has brought upon us, and that sin that continues to fester. Let's join together in prayer before God, who is listening to your heart and listening to your mind. Let's pray. As Jesus approached Jerusalem and saw the city, he wept over it and said, "If you, even you, had only known on this day what would bring you peace, but now it is hidden from your eyes." Lord, holy are you for weeping over us as you saw our condition and our situation. You knew what was really going on then. You know what is really going on now. Lord, forgive us. Forgive us for misidentifying who that enemy truly is. Forgive us for perpetuating the wrong story when you have told us so clearly that our battle is not of this world. Lord, what could we do in the face of such reckless hate and an evil one? We praise you that we are hearing that you came as the Messiah to do that which we could not, that you are the one who has the power to change it. You are the one who comes with compassion, the compassion to save us, and to do that, to put an end to evil. You, Lord, by offering yourself, you have made yourself worthy to open that scroll. That scroll that represents the end of evil. Then I saw on the right hand of him who sat on the throne a scroll with writing on both sides, and sealed with 7 seals. And I saw a mighty angel proclaiming in a loud voice, "Who is worthy to break the seals and open the scroll?" But no one in heaven or on earth or under the earth could open the scroll or even look inside it. I wept and wept because no one was found who was worthy to open the scroll or look inside. Then one of the elders said to me, "Do not weep. See, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the Root of David, has triumphed. He is able to open the scroll and its 7 seals."
Do you feel the world is broken? Do you feel the shadows deepen? But do you know that all the dark will stop the light from getting through? Will you do you wish that you could see all that you do? Will you do? Is all creation groaning? New creation coming? As the glory of the Lord to be the light within our midst. Is it good that we remind ourselves of the days? Is anyone worthy? Is anyone whole? Is anyone able to break the seal and open the scroll? The Lion of Judah, who conquered the grave, is David's root and the Lamb who died to ransom the slave. Is he worthy? Is he worthy of all blessing and honor and glory? Is he worthy of this? He is. Does the Father truly love us? Does the Spirit move among us? Does Jesus, our Messiah, hold forever those who love us? Does our God intend to dwell again with us? He knows. Is anyone worthy? Is anyone whole? Is anyone able to break the seal and open the scroll? The Lion of Judah, who conquered the grave, is David's root and the Lamb who died to ransom the slave. From every people and tribe, every nation and tongue, He has made us a kingdom and priests to God to reign with the Son. Is He worthy? Is He worthy of all blessing and honor and glory? Is He worthy? Is He worthy? Is He worthy of He is worthy. He is worthy. He is. Say, is anyone worthy? Is anyone whole? Is anyone able to break the seal and open the scroll? The Lion of Judah, who conquered the grave, He is David's root and the Lamb who died to ransom the slave. From every people and tribe, and every nation and tongue, He has has made us a kingdom and priests to God to reign with the Son. Is he worthy? Is he worthy of all blessing and honor and glory? Is he worthy? Is he worthy? Is he worthy of the Say.